We take financial information from the wrong people too often. I get this scenario all the time. I sit down with somebody in their 20s. We talk dreams and goals financially independent by the time they're 35. They want to retire by 40. And then I'll inevitably ask, who gives you your financial advice? They have not been able to become financially free, financially independent, retire at 40, all of those things. How do you think you're going to get there using that same information? It's the blind leading the blind. And that's why, right, we don't end up where we want to be. Welcome to the Good Life. Welcome back to another episode of the Good Life Visual Audio Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, C. Muzan. I got Kabi here in the building.
What up, though?
He's here with his button maker noiser.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. An amazing thing happened to me today. I was introduced to now a friend. I'm happy to call him a friend. Good man. Software engineer, company started, all that good stuff. The most important thing you didn't know about this gentleman is that he was born and raised in the good city of Detroit.
Detroit, Michigan. There we go.
Man, that's a great city, man, because clearly they produce quality individuals, high character individuals, intelligent, fun, great guy. Great guy. We might even have him on the show.
When you met him, like, did you give him a hug once you found out he was from Detroit? Like, what was your reaction when you found out he's from Detroit?
I gave him a spiritual hug. Okay. I gave him a spiritual hug because this was on the phone.
Okay.
But I was like, listen, I'm very excited to meet a great Detroit fellow Detroitian.
Detroitian.
I'll figure that out. But yeah, it was great. He was able to give me some lowdown on some of the few things to be doing in Detroit, and we're gonna have a whole setup. He might even help us take the show to Detroit. We'll see.
Who knows? I have a feeling that you're gonna become best friends, and you're gonna grow a very, very, very healthy relationship with him that will flourish.
Uncle Jalen?
Yeah.
No, that'd be great. Uncle Jalen, if you hear this, let me know. I mean, I'll shine your shoes. Just let me know.
That's it. Good old Jalen.
Anyway, you should actually sign my dad's shoes. You ever did that? With the shoe polish.
I've never. I've only seen guys in the airport getting their shoes shined. I've actually never. Outside of the airport, I've never seen anyone shining shoes, nor have I shined anyone's shoes.
I think it died before I got to the U.S., man. But when I was young, even in the U.S., my dad would have a polishing kit. You come in there, you polish the shoes and all shiny, and the slacks all lying, crease at the front and everything. I'm like, goodness gracious. My dad's a little older.
That's okay. Understood. Duly noted, right? Like, yeah, shining shoes. Have you? I mean, I don't even think I have a pair of shoes that need to be shined. Well, I probably do. I have a pair of
man, you don't have a pair of church shoes?
No, I do. I take that back. Yeah. But I just don't get much wear out of them anymore, so I don't think about shining them. I think that's really what it is.
It's a different world we live in, man.
It is.
Different world.
Listen, I work from home.
That's right.
Like, I'm lucky. My wife would tell you, like, lucky to have any clothes that actually fit me. Like, I haven't bought clothes in years. Kind of spoiled. I'm kind of spoiled on that front, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, life is good when you get a chance to just be at home with your family, work from home, spend time with the people you love, semi-design the life that you want, right? Put yourself in a position to do it. It's a blessed life. It's the good life, so to speak. So that's what we're all here for. That's what we're all here for anyway. Let's dive into the show today. Let's start our segment called 2 by 2.
2 by 2.
Today's 2 by 2 is an interesting one. Those of you that are listening to this live, you're going to get the first scoop, right? Some of you that might be listening on this on a replay or as it drops later on, this might already be old news to you, or there may be some new announcements or things around this. But for right now, this is relatively new news. There's been some information around UFOs getting shot down across North America. And these UFOs are being shot down by military fighter jets, right? Like Air Force jets. And just in the past week, there have been, I believe, four, maybe five, I think it's four different sightings that were shot down. One happened, it was a Chinese spy balloon that was shot down over the Atlantic Ocean, near another one near Alaska, another one over Canada, and just recently there was another one over Lake Huron. So these unidentified flying objects were shot down and are actually a military concern. And a lot of different theories out there. So, B, you want to go ahead and give us your 2 minutes on what is this? Should we be concerned? How to even look at this? What is this stuff?
This is one of the easier takes that we've had here on the show, and I just want to be very clear and succinct in expressing my opinion on this right here. It's nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about it. Go about your business. You're good. You're fine. Don't even think twice about it. In fact, you can skip this part. It's not even that important. Just go to the rest of the show. All right. Why do I say that? Because we're just men among titans. All right. We're here. The Game of Thrones is going on. We only get the information they want us to have. It's not like I didn't see anything get shot down. All I know is from what I'm reading on the news or from what I'm hearing. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't know. Do my beep. And they fill our heads with a lot of this stuff usually, or televisions or newspapers, to kind of, dare I say, distract us from other things that may be slipping past and being hidden in law and all that types of stuff. It's always funny that when something like this happens, and by the way, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying, what can I do about it? All right. I'm not going over here and think, hey, you should stop shooting down these UFOs. All right. It's not my job. It's not what I do. So I just keep it moving, baby. Keep it moving and cut the noise.
I think this is incredibly important, but maybe not for the reasons that some people are thinking. I heard that there are some theories out there, right? That is this aliens, right? Like kind of UFO type. When normally we think of UFOs, we think of aliens, we think of extraterrestrial, like things outside of uh, this Earth, us Earthlings would call, right? But I actually think this is actually way more serious than people think. There's a lot of geopolitical things happening that they do try to hide from us. And one area that I would completely agree with you is we're really like, we can't believe anything that we're really hearing. The news, the media, government, senators, the people that come out and talk, they're only telling you half or a quarter of the story, or it could just be all lies, right? But it's definitely not the full truth. We understand that side, and hopefully people do understand that. But I do think that there's something way bigger that's brewing on this side that they aren't telling us. I always go back to that scene in the movie Titanic, and I'm not much of a movie person, but I just remember this scene in Titanic where the captain and the people on the people that run the ship, they know they only have an hour before the ship goes down, and they are not telling anyone on the ship. Everyone is still out there dancing and drinking and having a good time, and there's a select group of people that know that they got an hour to live because this ship is going to go down. I always think that this is kind of what happens when we deal with things like this. We're, I believe, on the brink of World War III. And because of that, these UFOs, they're coming from a certain place. And I don't think they're coming from outer space. I think they're coming from other countries. And these other countries are using these things to spy, to test, to get over American waters, to get over American land, see how quick our reaction time is. I mean, why would the Air Force have to go after these things? And again, it just so happened that recently the Air Force, or the military said that there were even sightings of UFOs before. Now we see four in a week. there's something else going on they're not telling us. I believe this is more of like the beginning stages of some form of like air attacks. Not trying to be overly negative. This is the good life, right? And this is, but there is a form of being prepared and staying prepared and making sure that we are understanding kind of what's happening. Empires do fall. And there's a book by Ray Dalio called The Changing of, right, The Principles of a Changing World Order. And in that book, he talks a lot about the ways that empires fall and the fact that, right, this has been seen over time in history, how empires fall. And the United States doesn't have the greatest military right now. And I believe that there might be some other countries out there that are just testing that. I think that's what we're seeing.
Ladies and gentlemen, my partner Chris has essentially told us that we are in the midst of a war, or a war will be starting here. So, um, thank you for that insight, sir. And I hope you are incorrect.
I hope I am too. I hope I am too, but I don't know that I am. I don't know that I am. There's a lot going on out there. I don't think this is something to just breeze by. I think it's something that you should pay attention to. Better to pay attention to this than the Super Bowl, Grammys, and whatever else is popping up on your entertainment news feed. Because this stuff actually has real implications to our well-being here in America. So think we should pay attention, guys. That's all. One of the themes here on The Good Life is awareness. So just stay aware. That's my message.
Love it.
Let's
Stay
dive in.
aware. Watch UFOs, not the Grammys. Got
Message.
it.
Well summarized, sir. Can tell you've gone to school summarizing those points. Yes. So stay aware. Hey, let's dive into today. Today's talk is an important one because there's probably a few of you, a bunch of you out there that are in your 20s that currently listen to this and or have just gotten out of your 20s and maybe can relate to some of the stuff that Kabi and I are going to talk about. But today's topic is the top money mistakes that we make in our 20s. There's some very common things on this list. There's some very common things that both Kabi and I have gone through being fresh out, you could be a little fresher out of his 20s than I am, right? But out of our 20s. And we thought that this is just important because when it comes to, again, your health and your wealth, specifically on the wealth side, it's not only aspirational to think about it and important for people to aspire to do something financially and have the big goals and the big financial dreams, but it's also good to understand the mistakes that other people have made, right? The mistakes that you watch out for, the things that we could have corrected. Some of this information that we now have will benefit somebody else that is in their 20s or just starting their financial journey. And so today's show is kind of giving you some of those things that we can dive into. Before we completely dive in, bro, I'm curious on your part, like outside of the financial world, how was your 20s? Like, how would you, it's kind of a broad question, but how would you like classify your 20s as far as like, happiness, drive, like what were you doing? Where was your mind at during those times? What were you kind of focused on? What would you say for your 20s?
Man, my 20s was a decade of searching, right? And came into my 20s. I'm a little older than my graduating year. So I came into my 20s pretty early into college, I think end of sophomore year or so. Or not into my, yeah, 21. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Further. And so started off with college, graduated, was trying to figure out kind of what to do and how to do it. And I think we don't make it, it's hard to find good information. I think you find a lot of information, hence the noise. You find a lot of information, but to find good ones that actually apply to you coming from people that are looking out for you was really tough. So for me, I was really searching. I was searching in the area of career, whether I wanted to go to law school, whether I wanted to continue with my training business. I was searching in the area of relationship. I'd been with my partner for a pretty long time, and we're getting a lot of questions from family, etc. So just kind of figuring out where things were going. I was searching in terms of like where I wanted to live, like where did I really want to stay in my small town or move out, etc. So there's a lot of searching there, but it was also highly motivated individual, I think, in my 20s. So I was always like pretty hungry. I was always pretty like, what do I need to do? Searching for the right advice, etc. I was probably a little bit of overdrive, to be honest, but
Hmm.
good while you're still young. So that was my 20s. Made a lot of mistakes, but also did a lot of really good stuff. And some of, I guess we'll talk about the ugly side today.
Yeah, we definitely will. We definitely will. On my side, in all honesty, my side was a little bit different. My under 25, searching is a good word. For me, it was more just like living. I was living. I super carefree, just going. 18 to 22 was spent in Miami in South Florida,
I.e.,
right?
living.
Right, exactly. So just living, just enjoying life. Just one of the things that, and I've told this to some young people currently, one of the things that we're kind of told as a young person is like the safe, secure route is the route to go, right? Just, and you hear, right, go to school, get a higher education, get a good job, work in your career, stay steady in your career, find your spouse, right? Like all that stuff is a very like steady, safe way to go. And I really wasn't doing that. I was steady in my work, but I was just living life. I was up, right, got very little sleep. I remember having two jobs and going to school full time. Part of that time, I played college basketball, so I didn't work at all. Um, I was in the hospitality world, so there was some late night serving, some late night bartending, some early morning line cook, early morning stuff. Like I was just all over the place. I remember early 2020s, I was semi addicted to Red Bull. Like I just right would drink like 3 4 Red Bulls a day, just like just up, just living, right? Just always had cash in my pocket, right? Never really wanted for money, never really like needed money, just kind of just was living, right? That classified my early 20s. I happened to get married at 25. Right? Wait, 20 25 2011. I think I was 26 maybe. 25, 26 when I got married, something like that. Yeah. And then it all changed, right? Then it was like, okay, I need to start paying attention to some things and start paying attention a little bit more to money and pay attention a little bit more to future and pay attention a little bit more to like what I'm doing with my life and career and all those things. So I just got started on that path a little bit earlier. But my 20s were definitely stark differences, I think, from the early years and the latter years. But one of the things that was constant is the money side, right? Because you need money, right? And money was always present. Early 20s, though, like I said, I wasn't as aware of money. And this goes into one of my top money mistakes in my 20s, was just not being aware of the value of money, right? Spending recklessly, spending just because. That's I hear this from a lot of people in general, but that was just one of my major mistakes, was just constantly spending, especially in the hospitality world. The hospitality world early, and this goes out to all my servers and bartenders and all of y'all out there that live that cash life. You get used to making $100, $150, $200 a shift, and you walk out with that in cash. And you then inevitably wind up spending 50 to 70 to $100 that night, and then you come back and do it all again the next day and make that other 100 150 200, and then you go back and spend it again. So just didn't have the awareness of like the value of money, didn't save a lot, kind of came in, went back out. That was one of the major money mistakes that I made in my 20s, was just spending frivolously and just not valuing money.
Hmm.
What about on your side, man? Give me one of your top mistakes in your 20s.
I have plenty to pick from, but let's start here. Um, school, not thinking, just not thinking about how I'm going to handle school debt or school
Mm,
cost, the cost of going to school, because my I didn't have like a what is it 529
529.
529 plan. I didn't have anything, so it was either scholarship or going into debt. And I really had no idea. Nobody really explained anything. Like it was just expected. Took out some, for the I got some scholarships and other things of that nature, but still had to. Went to one of the most expensive schools in the country and still had to take out money for that. Uh, Ended up doing a lot better than most, but I think honestly it's because I got lucky in terms of scholarships and grants and things of that nature. Because it could have been bad.
Sure.
When I look back, it makes me grateful, nervous, but and grateful, right? Because it could have been really bad, like 150K plus could have easily
Yeah.
been on my head. Um,
Yeah. How,
so
how how did you navigate that? Like, did you have someone help you kind of fill out? Did you fill out like the FAFSA form?
yeah.
How did you look into loans? Like, take me through some of that. So this is big for a lot of people, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually in a position where I had a great guidance counselor and a program at my school that was very attentive. I mean, the
Mm,
goal of the school was to basically have 100% placement in terms of people going to college. So they had a lot of resources. But a lot of those kids had 529 program
mhm.
or just straight cash. So it was a little bit different in that I think there was not as much education around the FAFSA and all that stuff. I did fill all that stuff out, but it was kind of like piecemeal a little bit, right? So, you know, hey, you should sign up for this. Hey, you should do this. And because I was, like I said, a pretty driven kid, I did all of those things, and I'm glad I did. Probably done more, but that's what I did. I mean, yeah, I got as much government money as possible, as much scholarships as I could sign up for, as much grants as I could apply for, as much whatever Uncle Sam wanted to give me.
Yeah.
Um, and I basically selected the best package. Honestly, it came down to um, the best financial package, I believe.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think when we look back in history, because this is going to be important for a lot of people, when we look back in history after another 40, 50 years or so, I think student loans is going to be one of the biggest like traps and mistakes in most young people's lives in this time period.
I could not agree more.
Right.
I absolutely think so because when you look at what's happening, it's already viewed as a necessity. It's already viewed as a must. There's no real question. Nobody's questioning it at all. And when we couple that with what's going on with the dollar, the economy, and then what's going on with the cost of secondary education or high
Hmm.
level education, they're all moving in the wrong direction.
Hmm.
And the income guaranteed by those schools is no longer as significant as it used to be. I believe you're shifting, but there's still, it's kind of like a bridge splitting, right? There's still a lot of people on the wrong side of the bridge.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. We're not even close to having there be a very palpable problem that people can notice or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried about. I mean, maybe not worried, but our kids, our
Mm.
kids. Like, at what point does it become like? What happens? Does it become too much in terms of the cost of educating yourself so that you can work for the rest of your life? Right?
Essentially, that's what it is. Like I had put out a piece of content, I think, and we've talked about this here on the show that again, the college system is broken, right? The secondary education, like it's broken, and it may not be around for our kids in the way that we know it, right? And that's why I said, looking back, like when we get to that point in time and we look back at this last 30 years or so, really kind of 25 years or so of history, and the amount of debt that people took on just to be able to get the piece of paper, that right there is gonna go down in history as probably one of the worst kind of like money decisions or financial decisions that we could have made. I personally work with people currently that have 150, 180, upwards of $200,000 in student loan debt. I literally am thinking of someone right now also that is paying $1,000 a month because she has a private loan. It's not a federal loan that could get, deferred or anything. She's paying $1,000 a month. It's a quarter of her salary currently.
Wow.
She's in her mid 20s. $1,000. It's more than her rent, and she doesn't have a car payment. Like she pays $1,000 a month, and that right there, like has to go down as a mistake. Like no one can tell me that like this was the right thing to do for especially someone like her, right? In her case, or anyone else that's sitting in hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt, yet still make 40, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 a year. It just doesn't make sense. So that is a mistake. That is one of the money mistakes. And again, I'm sure there's a bunch of educators out there and uh, in academia that may speak differently towards the the necessity of it. But if you just look at it from a number standpoint, one of the major mistakes is going into debt for school when you're not paying that stuff off, right? And it becomes such a burden on your life. So that was a good one. I think that's going to resonate with some people, man, because that is a huge money mistake. And I think it's some things that we can get cleaned up moving forward with this next generation. Give me another one, Kabi. What's another one of your top money mistakes in your 20s?
Car loan. Car
Mm-hmm.
loan. So got out of college, found myself a good job. Was still well, no, was getting ready to move out of my parents' house, and had to figure out, how to get to and from work, etc. Ended up being convinced by somebody I shouldn't have been listening to necessarily, or have double checked their work, as to finance a car that I probably didn't need, a car that was probably a little too rich for my budget at the time, and that ended up being, I think, almost like $7,000-8,000 upside down on the car,
Wow.
and had to dig myself out of that. And eventually ended up selling the car later on. And yeah, it was just a bad move. I could have just taken that 8,000, got myself some, saved up that 8,000, got myself something nice used, and go from there. I would have probably been much better off, because if I really wanted to, I could have gotten to work
Sure.
enough to save up 8,000.
Sure.
Um, Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
so. Enough to
Yeah.
save up 8,000. So yeah, that was a huge mistake. It was, it's nice to get the congratulations, you bought a car and all this stuff. And the whole time I was like, this doesn't this feels a little weird. Like, it's nice to have people acknowledge you for making progress in life, but this is coming from people I don't trust. Like, I don't necessarily want my life to look like theirs. So it made me a little nervous, to say the least.
As it should have, as it should have. That was just your sixth sense in with money to be like, nah, I don't know if this really fits me, right? So again, you're hitting on some of the top money mistakes that most people have. I did not have a car loan. I didn't fall into this trap. I was blessed with my grandmother's gift to me. Going to college was a 2000 Mitsubishi Galant, right? Just that was my gift. It was paid for. Took that thing down to Miami, rode that thing till the wheels fell off of that thing until I met my wife. Met my wife. She happened to be in a pretty good financial place when I met her. And then the cars got upgraded, but without a note, right? So I didn't have that same trap. However, this is a trap that most people do fall into. I've never been a car person in general, so I didn't think I would have even fallen into the trap if I had. But just understand, like, uh, this is something that just debt in general. We start with student loan debt. We head into this side of the car debt. Um, Most people are only looking, especially in your 20s, you're only looking at how much this costs a month. That's like the determining factor. Do I like it, and can I afford the monthly payment, right? And what we don't pay attention to is this is what's called a depreciating asset, right? Depreciating asset. The moment you drive that car off the lot, it depreciates. It is not worth what you bought it for the moment you drive it. So automatically just continues to lose value, right? Just continues to lose value. Now, if you tack on interest on top of that, and if it's because it's a, you want to ride in style or whatever the case is, now you're looking at payments that maybe are a little bit out of your means, a little bit above your budget, right? Having a $400, $500 monthly car payment, and you have a $40,000 a year job, $50,000 a year job, doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. But a lot of times in our 20s, we fall into this trap. I also partially don't want to put blame on parents, but parents play such a role in helping their children have the proper money mindset when they go off to do these things. I don't think the average 17-year-old knows how much their parents pay for their car.
Mm.
I don't think that's talked about. I don't think someone that is in the ballpark, right? That's why I put a 17-year-old. They're in the ballpark for getting a car or starting to drive or whatever the case is. I don't think they understand exactly how much that costs. I don't think they understand how much insurance costs. I don't think they understand the interest on a car. I don't think they understand anything about leasing versus buying. I don't think they understand new versus used. I don't think they understand, the average 17-year-old does not understand half of the things that go into having a car. So, of course, in their 20s, it's easy to fall into the trap of getting a car just because you like it and you can afford the monthly payment. So you think. And that's where it starts. So, again, I think these are the types of things that are just taught in the home, taught with people that have some financial literacy and pass this down to their children, or, right, just, I don't know if they get this from school. I don't think anyone gets it from school, but we got to figure out a better way so that people in their 20s aren't falling into this trap, because it's very, very common. Very common.
Very predictable. And that's the other thing. I think a lot of these financial traps. We might need a little short little book on this or something
Mm,
that gets straight to the point. For 5 financial traps.
that's
They
good.
try to trap you, right?
That's good.
um, because it's very predictable. Education, you know, car,
Mhm.
uh, 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 uh,
Credit card.
credit card, weddings,
Mhm.
vacations. If you are not in the wedding boat in general, I would
Mhm.
say. And what else you got?
I mean, those are the top ones that are kind of trapping people. We talked about school, right? I mean, God, the
Mortgage,
mortgage. I,
furniture.
I was gonna say the mortgage,
Yeah.
right? And again, we're gonna get a ton of people in the comments. I get it, right? Your home is an asset; it grows in equity. Blah blah blah. Got it. It's still a trap. It's still a trap. It is still a trap. Just ask anyone that's gotten their house foreclosed on. Just ask anybody that struggles to make their mortgage payment. Just ask, right? I mean, it might not be you now, sir, ma'am. That's the right. That's excited to have their house. But it's funny because I just read I read an article, or I saw a headline that said, like, um, this parent wants to pass down her house to her daughter, and her daughter wants nothing to do with it, right? Like, I don't want to pick up your mortgage. Like, I
Mm.
don't, like, that was your decision to pick up that mortgage. I don't want to pick up that mortgage.
It's not paid off, obviously.
Yeah, it's not paid off. It's like she's ready to, like, just kind of give it to her with the mortgage, and it's like, I don't, just because you have a house doesn't mean I want a house. And this is another trap, right? That on the other side, like, parents fall into, like, assuming that your kids want what you're gonna pass down to them. like
Yeah.
like I got you this house and this land and this business. Is like, I don't want any of that. Like, you're not doing that for me because I don't want that stuff. You might think that's good for me, but I don't want that. So
Right.
I don't want to be a landlord, right? Do you ever ask your kids if they want to be a landlord before you give them a rental property, before you give them a cash flowing property? Like, do you want to be a landlord? Probably not, right? But these are some traps that that are happening. Aaron just dropped this. Said he was just having this talk of student loan versus car payments, right? Seems like higher education is one of those things that stings the most. Most people can take one of these traps can be okay, but both is crazy. It's true.
Great insight. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's you don't need to avoid all of them, but don't hit all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't hit all of them. Like there are times where college education makes sense. Depends on the situation. Um, there are times when a certain car might make sense. Depends on the situation. Not that wasn't my situation, right? There are times when a lot of this stuff makes sense based on the situation, but I think a lot more people think those exceptions are the reality,
Mhm.
right? So a lot more people think it's where you know I'm not going to be the one to get tripped up, and by the time you're like 30, 32, 35, you're all types of tied up
That's right.
financially, that speaking.
Yep. Clarify
Yeah, that's
that.
just.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I think we're hitting on some of the debt ones. I've mentioned credit cards, but we didn't really go deep into it. But credit cards is one of the top money
Huge.
mistakes. You know what I mean? They come knocking at your door as soon as you're on a college campus, as soon as you turn 18. And again, we're just not educated on this stuff, right? It's kind of like the abstinence conversation for kids, right? If all your parents tell you is don't have sex, right? Like it's not gonna,
What's sex, mom?
yeah, right. It's not you're not gonna handle it properly when that time comes. Same
Just don't do
thing.
it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Just stay away. Same thing with this credit card conversation, right? Just stay out of debt. Don't use a credit card. Okay. Why do they keep right giving me offers for money and free money, right? Like
Right.
there has to be a level of education. I think this also comes down to the trap of not understanding interest
Mm.
and how interest actually works, right?
Mhm,
In
mhm.
in, in some of the workshops and some of the like webinars that I'll do, especially for the youth, especially for the under 18, we always have the conversation about interest, about compound interest and what that looks like. If it works in your favor, aka you're investing and putting money away, it's going to be an amazing thing for you. If it works against you, aka credit card debt, student loan debt, those types of things, it can be the worst thing for you financially, right? So really just understanding that topic of interest is incredibly important in somebody's financial life. So that's why, again, people fall into that trap of the credit card um, mistake as well. So on that topic, right, I'll also add another money mistake on my side, and this again kind of you know two sides to this coin. You hear it a lot that you should start investing early. I didn't start investing early, right? I didn't start investing and putting money away early enough. And those that I do know that did invest, they pulled out of their investments too early, right?
Mm.
Because normally don't really have the habit yet of understanding investing. That's why I'm very cautious of giving this message to people in their 20s, is because in a perfect ideal world, you have a steady income, you consistently make money, you never hit real financial problems without a savings. So you can keep money in your investments. That's the way to keep money in an investment. It's because you might hit some financial bumps in the road, but you got some savings, you got some emergency fund, you got some money that you can touch or things that you can do to get yourself out of that without touching your investments. But what we see a lot is that people don't have the habit of saving. So they try to invest too early in their 20s. And by the time they're 28, they hit a financial roadblock and they pull out of their investments. They cash in that TD Ameritrade account. They cash in that Fidelity account. They take out of their stocks. They get out of their crypto. Like whatever the thing is that they're invested in, right? They pull out of it. They sell that real estate because they think they need the cash or whatever the case is. Normally, when we get started investing too early, we don't have still the financial safety net in order to keep those investments there, right? But that would be ideal. It would be ideal to get started in your 20s, investing early and never stopping. Then that interest will out earn you. That compound interest, whatever it is you're doing, it'll out earn you. That's when you will be a multimillionaire in your late 30s, right? Early 40s, just from investing. Unfortunately, like I said, that's not the way it really works in society because people have job interruptions. They have major financial setbacks. They fall into these traps. They have to have a wedding. They have to go on vacation with their loved one. They get a car that they can't afford. They get into an accident. They need money. Their income is not as high as they would like it to be because they're still just growing in their career or even don't have a career. So then they pull out of those investments. So mistake is not investing early enough, but I think honestly the real mistake is just not saving enough early and not like really having that financial foundation, have that financial safety net early enough. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll add, a different way to maybe look at it that we've talked about before is I think instead of the focus being on saving early, I think the focus should be on how to increase your cash flow.
Yeah,
We've
earning.
talked about this, and I think it's not necessarily, how can I make more money, period, but more so, how can I sharpen my skills in such a way that I demand more money or I'm worth more money or whatnot. And I think that focus early on, followed by strong financial habits, it's just being aware of what's coming in, and then savings might even be like third or fourth on the list because I made a lot of those mistakes. I heard, invest early, and again, I was a pretty ambitious kid, so I was like, okay, yeah, but I didn't have consistent cash flow.
Right.
So I bought stocks, I bought crypto, I bought a bunch of stuff, and at different points in my life I cashed them in because of a lack of cash flow or because I needed to do something or whatever it may be. I had, crypto, stocks, gold and silver. So I remember cashing in gold coins to buy gas to fill my overpriced a car.
Listen, this is funny, but this is so true, bro. Like this is real. Like this is what happens. Like you hear the right things, but then you can't play out in the way that you wanted to because you don't have consistent cash flow, like you said.
That's right.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big. It's just a shift in mindset, like
Mhm.
or maybe more precision with word choice, right? So learn to invest now. Everybody's like, I need to go buy real estate, right? So it's like, yeah, I guess, but you don't have a job, so
Exactly. Let's start there.
yeah,
Let's start there, Johnny. You don't have a
yeah,
job, and the job that you're about to get only pays you $12 an hour, right? So
yeah.
like,
Let's do that. And what's funny, we always talk about this, the parallels between the health and wealth side. As you see exactly this, man. Somebody comes in and it's like, hey, I want to look like that, but not too big, and da 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 da. And I'm like, from here to where you're telling me, not too big is not your concern, right? And by that I mean not too muscular is not your concern. Your
right.
concern is the fact that you drink Diet Coke all the time, eat burgers and cheese and pizza exclusively, have a ton of health issues, never seen the inside of a gym, will never lift a weight and will pay me, but won't actually do the program. That's the problem. Yeah. But we're worried about whether or not you should do hammer curls with your wrist supinated or pronated. No, way too early to focus on that. So
So it's so true, man. There's so many, and I'm glad you brought that up because there's so many parallels. That's why we do the show, right? There's so many parallels in the health and wealth side. And all Kabi and I want you to do is to focus on the basics, the fundamentals, the things, Kabi, you say it the best, right? Like the 20% of things that give you 80% of the results,
yes, sir.
right? It's the basic stuff. It's the 20% of things, the like foundational stuff that will then help you do all the other things that you want to go do. It'll give you the best results. And from this money standpoint, raising your cash flow, right? Like earning more money, increasing your cash flow is one of those 20% things that will give you 80% of the results financially, right? If you just made more money, if you just found ways to sharpen your skills, to master a craft, therefore you can, as could be said, demand more money. Know that what you're worth. Start the business, grow something that then gets you the money you need to go do all the other things. That's what we should be focused on. So I'm glad you kind of painted that picture, man.
Y'all. That's what I'm here for, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think the so I had cashing in my investments, as I said, student debt,
Mm,
car loan, and I'll say the last one I'll have. Oh, and the one when I'm listening to the wrong people, including the wrong family
mm,
members, wrong friends,
mm.
and after I really found good information, is when things really started to shift a little bit. And it's usually, I wouldn't say good information. I think it was good people who also have good information who want to coach. All right.
Can I
So,
can I can I stay there for 5 seconds?
oh please.
5 seconds, and not to get canceled, and not to have a bunch of
Oh.
parents, not to have a bunch of parents hate us. But I often tell this to the people in their 20s that solely take their financial advice from their parents or the people in their family, asking yourself, are they where you want to be? Right? Like, again, when someone, I get this scenario all the time. Here's the scenario. I sit down with somebody in their 20s. They tell me they want to, right? We talk dreams and goals financially. They tell me they want to be financially independent by the time they're 35. They want to retire by 40.
Mm,
They want to, right? Multi-millions and live comfortably, as they say, and be able to travel and have all the things, right? That's the goal. And then we get into some financial talks, and they give me some of the regular jargon of like, oh, I don't have a credit card, or I stay out of debt, or I'm looking to get this job and get this raise, or go back to school, or whatever the things are. And then I'll inevitably ask, because I ask everyone this, how'd you grow up with money? Like, what's your first recollection of money? And like, what do your parents do? And their parents are like janitor and a school teacher, right? And then I inevitably ask, is that who gives you your financial right advice? Like they're the ones that have guided you financially. The answer is yes. And I'm like, okay. So if they're the ones that are giving you your financial advice or your financial information and your guidance, yet they have not been able to become financially free, financially independent, retire at 40, all of those things, how do you think you're going to get there using that same information that they're giving you? Doesn't make sense. Like, you actually have to think about those things. Like, hey, I would like to go a place that I don't know many people have gone. So therefore, I'm only going to take information from the people that have gotten there or have a clear plan of how to get there for me. That's it. And that comes down to the listening to the right people. We take financial information from the wrong people too often, and it's the blind leading the blind. And that's why, right, we don't end up where we want to be. So that point right there is incredibly important, especially in your 20s, especially as you get older, right? Like, it's all the same stuff. Because when you get older, you just take advice from your coworker. You know how many people took advice from their coworker about Dogecoin? Tons. Or their neighbor about like some random investment.
Yeah.
Just makes
Yeah.
sense. You got to pay attention to who you're listening to, guys.
Yeah. Tough.
Yeah.
Tough. Tough.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes to walk through. I could probably come up with another one, but I'll leave you with one more here on my end, and it was leaving my current paycheck before I set up another paycheck. That was definitely one mistake that I made in my 20s, and it's kind of like this feeling you get when you're younger, which is, everything is fine. It's gonna all work out, like it's not that big of a deal. Some it may not be that big of a deal, but some paths are easier than others.
Hmm.
Let's say that.
That's so true, and that's just wise advice, and that's a place that we can end on because we see it happen a lot. People just bouncing around, but like leaving a job and then going unemployed for 4 months before they can find their next paycheck, and things get bad, and then they run up the credit cards, and then right they're desperate for the position, and then they get some job they really don't like, and they're in credit card debt, right? Like, and their car is 3 months behind and on the verge of being repoed, all because they had this impulse of, I'm going to leave this job and I don't want to be here. It's fine. It's fine to have the impulse. I always tell, again, people in their 20s, you should taste a lot of things. You absolutely should. That the model that we have of financial safety or financial, right, how we deal with our finances is semi backwards. As children, right, your parents, the loved ones, the people around you typically tell you to be as safe as possible from 18 to 23. Be as safe as possible from 18 to 25. Get the job, find your career, stay in there. If you get the 401k, get in the 401k, try to lock in some, right, some security for yourself, try to get the promotion, right? Like just steady Eddie, right? Just super safe. But it should actually be the opposite, right? You're 18 to 25, you should be learning and figuring out and tasting and testing and trying and learning how to quit properly and learning how to write a resignation letter properly and learning how to not burn a bridge and learning how to create a resume and like doing the stuff, starting that business, branching out and right, networking with some people and putting some money into a business to get started and having the side job and staying up later. Like you should do all of those things in the early stage because as you get older, you don't have the same freedoms. Life inevitably slows down for people. You get the significant other, you fall into the trap of the mortgage, you have right responsibilities, you have children. There's certain things that start happening where you can't just, oh, I'm quitting this job today, or I'm moving to this job today, oh, I'm starting this business tomorrow. Like you can't do those things. You're not as nimble later in life. So 18 to 25 should be that. It should be that. You should taste a bunch of things. To Kabir's point, though, you should set yourself up. If you know you don't like the job, get a new job, then quit, right? Get the job and then quit, right? That's the way you should. Don't just be like, I'm just going to quit. I'll figure it out. You probably will figure it out. But like Kabir said, the path might be a little bit more difficult for you, more difficult than you think in that time, especially if you happen to quit like in the middle of a recession or something like that. You know what I mean?
uh, don't get crazy now.
I know.
Don't get crazy. But no, I think that's a good amount of information for folks. If you feel like you got something out of this, let us know. What did you get? What mistakes have you made? Don't let us air our dirty laundry just for you to laugh at and and do whatever you do with it. But let us know, what mistakes have you made? I'll be curious. And what lessons are you going to pass on? Um, at the bottom of the screen here, we have our Facebook group that if you haven't joined yet, honestly, I don't know what you're doing. And, you should just pause this right now and just join that group,
Absolutely. We're over
please.
there. We're over there. We're dropping a workshop. We got another workshop coming up next month, the month of March. Some of you might be hearing this right in time for the workshop, but those of you, like I said, that are watching us here live, you get a chance to get it first. We're doing the blueprint, the blueprint on health and wealth. It's round number 2. We're coming back. We're going to be answering more people's questions. That's coming up in March, I believe March 17th specifically. But you're only going to have access to that over there in the group, in the Facebook group. So go ahead and join it. The link's right down there, bit.ly/TGL Connect, or you can just go to Facebook and type in The Good Life 4, number 4, The Good Life 4 on Facebook. But head over there because we got a lot of good stuff for you. We want to continue to give you access. We want to continue to answer questions. We want to continue to be a resource for all of you that want to go out there and design your life. Eventually get to that good life, not just the good life, the great life for you and your family in all areas. So it's a good show today, man.
Couldn't agree more, but I'm a little biased.
Why?
Because I'm in the show, sir.
Oh, that's why. Yes,
Yep,
I understand.
Yep,
I understand.
yep.
I understand.
Pew,
pew, pew.
Oh man, the OG sound for those that have been with us for a while, you know that.
Pew, pew, pew.
Oh man, one day somebody's gonna see this when we're both like, high top of some big company, and they're gonna be like, was that you?
And I'll still give it to him.
They're gonna be like, oh, thank you, Mr. Muzan. I appreciate that. That's it for us today, ladies and gentlemen. Always having a little bit of fun while we give you this information that could be life-changing, but sometimes a spoonful of sugar helps. The data goes down.
By the way, you should cut all processed sugar. Note.
Cut it out. Oh, man, that's good stuff.
Good stuff, man. Until next time.
Peace.
Welcome to the good life.